Now, how do we plan buys in US session? So if our bias is only bullish, how do we plan and execute on buys? So for the example, there's going to be loads of examples in this course in the example section on this. But for this example on GBP AUD right here, so this is just before US session started, and now we can plan what we're looking for. So there's only really two zones of importance at this point, and because this Asia high wasn't really anything, and it did get invalidated in London because there was a little bounce off it back up to London high, little trade in there, but as you can see, the Asian high is not really of importance anymore. So the two zones are the previous day's US high and Asia low. So now we can start to say, what are we looking for once the US market opens? So what we're looking for, simply tap into there, a rejection of yesterday's US high, push to the upside, or we look for a pullback into, that's the wrong tool, we look for a pullback into Asia low, bounce, then a push to the upside. That's not as likely because price would have to travel far, down quite far for that to happen. So the main thing we're looking for is this trade right here. So we've planned this out before the session is opened. So now we can throw it on the 5 minute for the session open. And all we're looking for is a push into the zone and then either a bullish 5 minute or a long lower wick on a 5 minute. And here is what happens. So the price is now tapped in, and as you can see in the zone, we got that bullish candle right there. So you can definitely get to buying from that point. So like that, stop loss below the zone, video on that specifically. Now I'm not going to draw the target on because that's for a different video as well. But let's just say you targeted up in this London high here. And from this point, what happened? Well, price pushed off to the upside like this, pushed and pushed. And then it did eventually tap into the TP. So the plan worked just as we'd predicted. So we knew that we were expecting this to happen before the session had even opened. So you have to know what you're looking for before the session's even opened, so you can execute on it when it happens. So all you're looking for is a push into the zone, a rejection on the 5 minute, so one of the 5 minute rejection candles for buys. And as soon as we saw that, we could have bought in the market and then pushed off to the upside. So very well planned, simple stuff on buying in US session. Another example of buying in US session right here is on GBP JPY. So this is right before the US session opened. There's three very clear zones. So there's the zone here, which is the US session zone, and the last two times it's tapped in, and it's Asian low. And then there's this zone, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. The last 4 times US has tapped into it, and it's Asian high. And then we've got a zone up here, but we wouldn't expect price to go all the way up there and be able to catch a trade off it. That's more for targeting. So we have these two zones here. So if I put it on the 50 minute now, then the plan, pretty much, this is just where you plan. You're either looking for a pull down to that zone, a rejection, then a push off up, or because on the higher time frames, the bias is only bullish, by the way, there's only buys because of the higher time frame bias. So once we know this, we're either looking for that trade there, or we're looking for breakup, pullback, and then a push to the upside. So we're looking for two things. We've got two possible things that we're looking for. Now we know we can go into the session, we can throw it on the 5 minute, and we can do exactly what we think. We're all planned out before the session's opened. Now I can play what happens. Price actually does, in fact, push above. If I go on the 50 minute, have we got a close above? Yes, we definitely have. We got that close there. So now we're on the 5 minute. All we're looking for is a tap into this zone. And as soon as we see a candle on the 5 minute that indicates that we can buy, we will be buying. So we can 100% be buying from this point here. Very strong bullish candle, rejection of the zone. If I just draw this on, buy there, stops us down there, and then target up there. Very valid buy. This in case it's a break and retest. So what does the price do? It pushes all the way off. So this is an example of in US session buying with a break and retest. So we got the 50 minute close above, we got the pullback, and the 5 minute allowed us to get in because the 5 minute told us we were rejecting this zone, and then we could have easily bought from that point up. So that's buying in US, how you can buy from either like that to the upside. So we get a pullback, we reject it, and then we get a push to the upside, or we get the break and retest push, we get the pullback, and like that of a US zone. So that's how we buy in US session. So now you know how to buy in all the sessions. We can now talk about stop loss and targeting.